Today's topic is lifeline of national economy. In this chapter, we are going to study importance of transportation and communication as they serve as the lifeline of a nation and modern economy. So as you can see, the means of transportation is divided into three parts: land, water and air. In land we cover roadways, railways, pipeline. In water we cover inland waterways, overseas. In that we are going to study about the ports, airways, that is domestic airways and international airways. So first main thing that we should know about is the do you think efficient means of transportation are a prerequisite for the fast development of a country? Because as we know that some of the things are available in our immediate surroundings while other requirements are to be met by bringing things from other places. Goods and services, they do not move on their own, they have to be transported. So the movement of the goods and services from their supply location to the demand location, that necessitate the need for the transportation, and those people who are engaged in facilitating these movements, they are called traders, who make the product come to the consumer by the means of transportation. So the pace of development of a country, it depends upon the production of goods and services as well as their movement over space. So efficient means of transportations, they are the main requirement for the development of a country. Now second point is, how has the world today converted into a global village? So today's world has converted into a global village because of better means of transportation, communication and trade. The three things, they are complementary with each other. So complementary means they work with each other. So they easy the way of working. So they are the main requirement for the development of a country. So that is why they have also converted the whole world into a smaller village. It looks like a village. So it has easy the way of working. The world has transportation, they have been able to achieve this with the help of developed communication system. As you know, satellites, they play a major role in easy working communication, trade. Now a dense and efficient network of transport and communication, they are also a prerequisite for the trade for today. So these three questions, they are almost similar to each other. So India, it is well linked with the rest of the world despite its vast size, diversity, linguistic and social cultural plurality. But airways, roadways, waterways, newspaper, means of communication, radio, television, cinema, internet, they have all of these things, they are contributing to the social and economic progress in one or the other way. So in this chapter we are going to study about the means of transportation first thing. So dense and efficient network of transportation and communication, it is a main requirement for today. Now land transport, and this first we are going to cover about roadways. So in India, roadways have preceded the railways. That means roadways have an edge over railways. How? And you have to explain this statement. So in this topic we are going to understand the importance of roadways, why they are the largest network in the world. So India has one of the largest network of roadways. Roadways have an edge over railways if we are going to compare. As because why we are comparing roadways with railways, because railways as we know, they are the cheapest means of transportation. So we are comparing both the means of transportation because of that aspect. So roadways, the cost of construction is lower as compared to railways. Roads can be transferred, that means transways means they can cover or dissect undulating topography. Uneven topography can be used to or they can be converted to building of roads. Roads can negotiate the higher gradients of the slopes. Hilly areas, they can be uh, used to build the roads in an easy manner as compared to railway. Now, roadways, they provide door-to-door service. The cost of loading, unloading is lower as compared to other means of transportation, but it is economic for only few persons, smaller amount of goods, and if we are covering shorter distance. So in this point, railways, they are much better as compared to roadways, but only for few persons it is better. So it act as, that means roadways, they act as feeder to other modes of transport. They feeder means they provide help to other transportation methods. They provide a link between other means of transportation like railway stations, airports, seaports. They need to be linked with each other, and to link them, roads are to be built. Now in India, we classify roads in 6 main classes on the basis of the roads that are being built. So classification according to the capacity of their working. So number first is golden quadrilateral or super highways. So these, the government has launched a major road development program that links the major 4 metropolitan cities. You know, 4 metropolitan cities of India are Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai and Mumbai. So these 4 major cities, they are linked with each other by the method of golden quadrilateral or super highways. So they are super highways are mainly built to speed up the working in easy manner. So they act as a corridors. So they are divided, golden quadrilateral are divided into 2 parts called corridors. So first two corridors are there, that is north south corridor and east west corridor. So north south corridor links Srinagar, that is in Jammu Kashmir, and Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu. And east west corridor, they connect 2 cities, that is Silchar in Assam and Porbandar in Gujarat. So it is a major project of the government to link the major cities for better working and facilitate the easy movement of goods and services. Main objective of superhighway was to reduce the time and the distance between the mega cities. So the time and the distance is covered up in an easy manner because of these superhighways. So this highway project, they are being implemented by National Highway Authority of India, short form NHAI. Now national highways, they link the extreme parts of the country. They are the primary road system of India and they are maintained by CPWD, that is Central Public Works Department, but they work under the supervision of NHAI. There are about 228 highways in India all throughout the country, and the distance covered by them is about 70,548 kilometers. Now I'm just discussing 2-3 national highways. So we are just covering up, rest of you have to cover up the national highways on your map work that is provided in your book. So National Highway number 1, also known as Sher-Shah Suri Marg, it links Delhi to Amritsar. National Highway number 2, it links Delhi with Kolkata. 3, Agra, Mumbai. National Highway number 7, Varanasi, Nagpur, Hyderabad, Kanyakumari. Longest national highway is that covers National Highway number 7 is the longest, that covers between Varanasi and Kanyakumari. It covers about 2,369 kilometers. Now National Highway number 15, it covers most part of Rajasthan. Now state highways, roads that link the state capital of with the district headquarters of that particular state. They are constructed and maintained by SPWD, that is State Public Works Department, in the respective states and the union territories. District roads, roads that connect the district headquarters with other places of the district and maintained by Zilla Parishad of the district. Beside these roads, there are other roads also. They are mainly called rural roads that link rural area and villages with towns. PMGSY, that is Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana. It is a special provision to link the rural area with the towns so that the villagers could easily work or they could be connected with the other areas of the state. Now beside these roads there are border roads. BRO, that is Border Road Organization, it covers the border roads. They construct and maintain the roads in the border areas, the strategic areas, that means the main strategic areas of northeast states. It was started in the year 1960, and it also improved accessibility in the areas of difficult terrain. So they are not just covering the border areas, but they are also building roads in difficult terrain areas. Now second classification of roads is on the basis of the material that is being used for the construction of that road. So there is two classification. One is metal road and second one is unmetal road. Metal road, as the word pronounce, it is made up of mainly cement, or it could be made up of concrete or bitumen of coal. So they are also called all-weather roads because they do not wear out in the weather season, that is rainy season. Unmetal road, they can be clay road. Mainly they can be made from crushed rock. They are unmetal. They serve only, that means they can be used only in the dry season, but it is difficult to use them in the rainy season because they normally wear away in rain. Now road density, length of a road per 100 square kilometer of an area is the density of the road. So the distribution of road is uneven in country. It is not equal all throughout the country. It depends upon the population of an area. Like Jammu Kashmir, it is about 12.14 kilometer, and it is about 517.77 kilometer in Kerala. It was in the year 2011. Data was collected in that year, and the national average at that time was about 142.68 kilometer. So beside these, we are going to study about the problems that are being faced by the road transportation. What are the problems that are faced we are in India are facing by road transportation? So The first one is keeping in view with the volume of traffic and passengers. The road network is inadequate, it is not proper. About half of the roads are unmetalled and this limits their use. That means we can't use them during rainy season. Next one, the national highways, they are also inadequate, they are not complete themselves. The roadways, they are highly congested in cities. So where there is a city, the roads are congested because of the population, and most of the bridges and the culverts are old and narrow. As the bridges and the tunnels that were being built on those roads, they are old and they are wearing away. Nowadays development has taken place, repairs are being made, road network has improved in the last previous years. Now second means of transportation is railways. So railway, it is the primary mode of transportation for freight and passengers in India, that means goods and passengers in India. People can conduct various activities like business, sightseeing, pilgrimage, besides it using it as a means of transportation. It binds economic life, it accelerates the development of industry and agriculture also. So in India stands fourth in the largest railway network in the world. Its route length is about 95,981 kilometer in the year. Now freight wagons, they are about 2,89,185, 55,258 are passenger coaches, 12,108 are electric and diesel locomotives. And first Indian train that was being started was from Mumbai to Thane in the year 1853, and it covered a distance of about 34 kilometers. It is the largest public sector unit of the country. It works under the government, it is not a private sector. And Indian Railways has reorganized into 17 zones, and the 18th zone is underway. That is, 18th zone name is South Coast. It is under working, and 17 zones, they are also subdivided to various parts, and North zone is the biggest one. It covers an area of about 6,807 kilometers. Now the distribution pattern of railway network in India is influenced by the physiographic, economic and administrative factors. So we are going to study the challenges that are being faced by railway construction work that is carried out in India. So the northern plains, we know that it is a level land, it is having a high population density, it is a rich agriculture resourceful area. It provides a favorable condition for the growth of railway. But still, in this part also, as we know, there are large number of rivers and they are having wide bed, so they also require construction of bridges across them. Now second difficulty is to lay the railway lines in the sandy plains of western parts of Rajasthan. As we know, the western part, Thar desert is there, so it is difficult to build or lay the railway lines in this part. Swamps of Gujarat, forested areas of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. It is also difficult to lay railway tracks in these areas. Now in hilly terrain areas of the peninsular region. Now hilly areas of peninsular region, particularly the Western Ghats, that is also known as Konkan region. The Konkan region track, they are being laid out, but they were laid through low hills either they were having gaps or we have made tunnels to lay the railway track. So this Konkan region, that is also known as Konkan railway system, so increasing construction cost, because when we are laying tracks, we are cutting the land and we are using gaps and tunnels, so construction cost increases. But the Konkan railway, it has facilitated the economic development of this area. As we know, Western Ghat is a main source of trading. Iron ore production is there. So peninsular area, it is benefited by the Konkan railway, but it also faces the problem of sinking of tracks. Sometimes the tracks sink when there is a rainfall, particularly in the monsoon season. Landslides are also there in some parts of this area. Now Himalayan area, as we know, it is a high relief area. It is having low population and there is almost lack of economic development. So this area is also not favorable for the laying of railway tracks. Beside these, after being laid down, there are problems that is being faced by the railways, like mostly people are traveling without tickets, thefts are is being done, damage is being made to the railway property. Sometimes they pull the chains, sometimes the railways are not working on time. The scheduled time that are being described for the railway, it is due to the problems like pulling of chain and all those things. Now third means of transportation is, that is the new means of transportation, it is pipelines. So earlier pipeline was being used to transport water for drinking and irrigation where canals and channels cannot be made. That means in those areas where we can't make canals or we can't make channels to transport water, in that area pipelines were being used. But now use of pipeline as a means of transportation, it has changed a lot. Now we use it for transporting crude oil, petroleum product, natural gas from oil and natural gas fields. That means we are transporting crude oil, petroleum product from fields to the refineries, to fertilizer plants, thermal power plants. So requirement of these industries, chemical industries also, they are being fulfilled by supplying the requirement of oil and petroleum through pipelines. Now even solids like iron ore can be transported by the pipelines when we convert them into slurry, that is semi-liquid form. So we are also transporting milk through pipelines. It is easy to transport by using pipeline, but initial cost of laying pipeline is very high, especially underground one, because they are to be dug underground and then the pipelines are being laid. So initial cost of laying pipeline is high, but subsequently running cost is minimal means it is limited, it is lower as compared to other means of transportation. So pipelines, they are convenient, efficient, economic system for the strategic and sensitive areas. They can be laid in difficult terrain as well as underwater. So pipelines, they are long-term infrastructure option. Low energy consumption is there. Even they reduces the transshipment cost. That means we don't have to change the means of transportation as we normally do from roads to railways or to seaports or to airways. So that transshipment cost is lowered. Even there is no delay as we are just supplying them from the area of supply to the demand area. So it is also accident free, environment friendly also. So pipeline networks, they are mentioned in our there are three main important pipeline transportation in India that are being mentioned in our book. So we are just covering them. That is from the oil field in Upper Assam to Kanpur. So its branches are from Barauni to Haldia. Second pipeline is from Salaya to Gujarat, and its branches, it connects Koeli, Chaksu and other places. Third pipeline is gas pipeline that we have studied in the previous chapter, HVJ pipeline, that is Hazira in Gujarat, Jagdishpur in Uttar Pradesh and Vijaypur in Madhya Pradesh. So these are the pipeline services of India.